a legacy of conflict, Israel and Iran at odds. The relationship between Israel and Iran has been fraught with tension and mistrust for decades. Since the Islamic Revolution in Iran in 1979, the two nations have found themselves on opposing sides of regional conflicts and ideological divides. Iran's nuclear program, which it maintains is for peaceful purposes, has been a particular point of contention, with Israel viewing it as an existential threat. This deep-seated animosity has fueled a cycle of proxy wars, covert operations, and military posturing, making any escalation a cause for global concern. Following the 1979 revolution, which saw the overthrow of the US-backed Shah and the rise of Ayatollah Khomeini, relations between Iran and Israel rapidly deteriorated. The establishment of a theocratic republic in Iran, openly hostile to Israel's existence, fundamentally shifted the regional power dynamic. Adding to the tensions, Israel's close alliance with the United States, often seen as Iran's primary adversary, further deepened the divide between the two nations. Over the years, this complex relationship has manifested in a series of indirect confrontations, often played out through proxies and covert actions. From Hezbollah in Lebanon to Hamas in Gaza, Israel has accused Iran of arming and supporting groups actively engaged in conflict with Israel. Cyber attacks, assassinations, and maritime skirmishes have also become grim hallmarks of this shadow war, keeping tensions perpetually high. The lack of direct diplomatic channels between Israel and Iran further complicates the situation, making it difficult to de-escalate crises and find common ground. With both nations possessing significant military capabilities and unwavering ideologies, the potential for miscalculation and unintended escalation remains a constant threat to regional stability. The road to retaliation, missile attacks, and escalating tensions. In recent weeks, the simmering conflict between Israel and Iran has once again flared up, with missile attacks and retaliatory airstrikes pushing the region closer to the brink. This latest escalation, stemming from a series of events that began in early October, underscores the volatile nature of the Israeli-Iranian rivalry and the ever-present potential for a wider conflagration. The current crisis can be traced back to a series of reported Israeli airstrikes on Iranian-linked targets in Syria. These strikes, part of Israel's ongoing campaign to prevent the entrenchment of Iranian forces and their allies near its border, reportedly resulted in casualties and material damage, raising tensions with Tehran. Adding fuel to the fire, a series of rocket attacks targeting Israel from Lebanon further inflamed the situation. While no group claimed responsibility for the rocket fire, Israel swiftly blamed Iran-backed Hezbollah for the attack. Although the rockets caused no casualties, they served as a stark reminder of the volatile security situation on Israel's northern border and its vulnerability to attacks from Iranian proxies. In the aftermath of the rocket attacks, Israeli officials issued stern warnings to both Iran and Hezbollah, vowing a forceful response to any further aggression. Defense Minister Benny Gantz stated unequivocally that Israel would hold Iran responsible for any action taken from Lebanese territory, and that the IDF was prepared to act on all fronts to protect its citizens. These events, unfolding against the backdrop of stalled nuclear talks between Iran and world powers, created a dangerous cocktail of heightened tensions and miscalculation. With both sides seemingly determined to demonstrate resolve and deter further attacks, the stage was set for a significant escalation in the conflict. Striking deep, Israeli airstrikes target Iranian military infrastructure. In the early hours of October 26, 2024, the Israeli Air Force launched a series of airstrikes targeting what it claimed were Iranian military facilities and weapons depots inside Iran. This operation, marking the most significant direct military confrontation between the two countries in recent years, signaled a dramatic escalation in the ongoing shadow war. According to Israeli military sources, the airstrikes focused on key infrastructure linked to Iran's ballistic missile program, including production facilities, storage sites, and research centers. The IDF claimed to have used precision-guided munitions to minimize civilian casualties, emphasizing that the operation was solely aimed at degrading Iran's military capabilities. The strikes, which reportedly involved dozens of Israeli fighter jets and support aircraft, were carried out over a period of several hours. Explosions were reported in multiple locations across western and northwestern Iran, including sites near the cities of Isfahan, Hamadan, and Kermanshah, areas known to house sensitive military installations. While the full extent of the damage inflicted by the airstrikes remains unclear, early assessments suggest that they successfully struck several key targets, potentially setting back Iran's missile program. The operation demonstrated Israel's willingness to act decisively and unilaterally to counter what it perceives as an existential threat from its regional arch-rival. Section 4. Tehran's response, downplaying damage and vowing retribution. In the immediate aftermath of the Israeli airstrikes, Iranian officials were quick to downplay the extent of the damage, insisting that the attacks had caused minimal casualties and had failed to significantly impact its military capabilities. However, the government in Tehran vowed a swift and decisive response, raising fears of a wider regional conflagration. Iranian state media, while acknowledging that Israeli airstrikes had targeted several locations, maintained that the attacks had been effectively repelled by the country's air defense systems. Images and videos released by Iranian news agencies showed what appeared to be intercepted missiles and minor damage to infrastructure. Despite the attempts to project an image of resilience, the Iranian government condemned the attacks in the strongest possible terms, calling them a blatant act of aggression and a violation of its sovereignty. Foreign Minister Hossein Amir Abdollahian vowed that Israel would pay a heavy price for its actions and that Iran reserved the right to defend itself by any means necessary. This desperate attempt by the Zionist regime to project an image of strength will not go unanswered, declared Amir Abdollahian in a televised address. Iran will respond decisively and at a time and place of its choosing. The downplaying of damage and the fiery rhetoric emanating from Tehran underscore the delicate balancing act facing Iranian leaders. While keen on avoiding the appearance of weakness, they are also wary of escalating the situation to a point where a full-blown conflict becomes unavoidable. Section 5. Navigating the Gulf airspace concerns and regional alliances. The Israeli airstrikes on Iran have also exposed the complex web of alliances and rivalries that define the geopolitical landscape of the Middle East. Of particular note is the delicate position of Gulf Arab states, caught between their burgeoning ties with Israel and their concerns about Iranian retaliation. Prior to the strikes, reports emerged suggesting that Israel had sought permission from several Gulf states, including Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, to use their airspace for the operation. These requests, while never officially confirmed, highlighted the growing strategic cooperation between Israel and some Arab nations, driven in large part by their shared concerns about Iran's regional ambitions. However, the Gulf states, mindful of the potential consequences of being seen as complicit in an attack on Iran, appear to have been reluctant to grant Israel such access. This hesitancy reflects the complex calculations these nations face as they navigate the shifting sands of Middle Eastern geopolitics. On the one hand, the Gulf states, particularly Saudi Arabia and the UAE, share Israel's concerns about Iran's ballistic missile program and its support for armed groups across the region. The normalization agreements signed between Israel and several Arab countries in recent years have paved the way for increased security cooperation, including intelligence sharing and joint military exercises. On the other hand, these countries are also wary of provoking Iran, a powerful neighbor with the capability to retaliate against them directly or through its network of proxies. The recent attacks on Saudi oil facilities, widely attributed to Iran or its allies, serve as a stark reminder of the kingdom's vulnerability. This delicate balancing act was evident in the muted responses from Gulf Arab states following the Israeli airstrikes. While expressing concern about the escalation of tensions, they refrained from publicly condemning or supporting either side, highlighting their desire to avoid being drawn into a wider conflict. Section 6. The international community calls for calm. In the wake of the escalating tensions between Israel and Iran, the international community has been quick to call for restraint and dialogue. World leaders and international organizations have expressed deep concern over the potential for a broader conflict and have urged both sides to de-escalate. The United Nations Secretary-General has called for an immediate cessation of hostilities and stressed the importance of diplomacy in resolving the crisis. Similarly, the European Union has issued a statement urging all parties to exercise maximum restraint and avoid actions that could further destabilize the region. The United States, while reaffirming its support for Israel's right to self-defense, has also called for calm and encouraged both nations to seek a peaceful resolution. Other countries, including Russia and China, have echoed these sentiments, emphasizing the need for dialogue and negotiation to prevent further violence. As the situation remains tense, the international community continues to monitor developments closely, hoping to prevent a full-scale conflict that could have far-reaching consequences for the entire region and beyond.